Hi, I'm Ricardo. You're watching Stream 876. Like, share, and subscribe.
876 Stream. Bless up.
So we have with us today one of my footballing heroes and an absolute legend for Jamaican and Stoke City as well, Ricardo Fuller. Ricardo, how are you doing? How's the family doing? Thank you for inviting me all the way to Staffordshire.
Yes, man, it's a pleasure and honor to be here, Simon. And the family's great, can't complain, and everybody's keeping safe.
And firstly, congrats on the opportunity that you're receiving at Stoke. You know, what would you say is the proper title of it? Because, you know, sometimes you see different roles, responsibilities, but the title of your role right now at the club itself?
Well, the initiative is the PPCS, which is Professional Player to Coach Scheme. It's a new initiative, fairly new. It's going on for about 2 to 3 years now. Basically, it's inclusiveness, diversity. Inclusiveness meaning male or female, diversity meaning more black and Asian coaches to get involved in the game, and equality side of things. And basically, this opportunity had me working with its partnership with the Premier League, the EFL, and Professional Player Football Association, the PFA. My role is working with the academy through the academy structure, from under 9s all the way up into the lead team. And obviously have insights and working as well into the sports science side of things and the recruitment side of things as well.
Now, we know from on the island that you've been working on the UEFA coaching badges and everything. Is that something that is finished now for you in terms of UEFA B license and stuff?
Yes, I've completed that about 4 or 5 months ago. That's prior to me, moving towards the application, and when Stoke City asked me to apply for the position. From this new initiative, so it's B minimum, so therefore you have to have the B to work in any proper football academy setup, which is at club level. So I passed that, and I guess my presentation was brilliant. So they've asked me to apply for this role, and it's a lot of bright minds that's involved with this initiative. So we got 3 different groups: the PPCS, which is the Professional Player Coach Scheme. We got the ECAS. And we got another group called MIDS. So it's about 22 of us from various backgrounds and qualifications, and inclusive, as I say, male or female, with this new role at different clubs across the clubs that involved with this initiative across the country.
It's amazing how time flies by so quickly, because it was 10 years ago that was, you know, your last appearance for the club as a player, and now 10 years onwards, because 2012 was the last time, and now we're in 2022 now. Yes. It's amazing how time flies. 10-year anniversary of that last appearance for Stoke. So when this opportunity came, was it the chairman that came, or a former player that said you about this role in particular?
No, it's the academy director actually rang me up in person, because obviously, you know, I'm still part of the club. I still go to the home games with my son to watch the home games. I've been doing a lot of charity work in and around the area, because that's what ex-players do, you know, for the fans. You know, I've been a massive part of the fans, and they love me here, and I love them as well. So, and the owners as well have got great love for me as well, and respect. So they've always asked me to come as soon as my youth degree was completed, because it's B minimum to start working. It's the law and it's the rules. So I guess they were waiting on that. So as soon as they knew that I was about to complete from the FA and the PFA, they made it clear and asked me to apply for this position, because they think it would be a great opportunity for me to give back to the club as well, and working with the club as well, and being someone that the club look up to, and being a massive part of the club's success, a recent success, I would say. So the academy director who ran me personally.
And how does it feel to mesh and, you know, be working with individuals that you once played with as well, you know, towards that promotion push to the Premier League, and also in the Premier League itself? Absolutely
massive. As I say, it's a massive plus in any way you look at it. Me being a part of the club's recent history in terms of success, and other players, we got players as well like Liam Lawrence, who are actually there at the club as well. Danny Pugh under 18s, Liam under 16, Carl Dickinson under 12, Rory Delap with the first team, Mama Sidibe with the recruitment and scouting. So it's a massive plus, because when you look at clubs like Man United, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, all those top clubs who have been Premier League winners, Champions League winners, FA Cup winners, Carling Cup winners, massive club who achieved so much. What do they have got in common? Most of their ex-players are working throughout the academy. So you could say or call it as a formula for success, especially when you got players who do well for a club. It's nice to have players that's coming in, see and know what is the club, what the club represent, what these players represent. You know, you got Liam Lawrence, you got Rory Delap, you got Mama Sidibe, you got RICARDO Fuller now at the club. You know what it meant to play for the club, what you need to give to achieve success for the club, because we were part of a successful part of era for the club. So it's a massive plus, and obviously those players looking in, first they arrive, you can see the joy on their face, you can see the excitement, you can see them, they want to say something, you can see the buzz. You can see a pep in their step as well, because the way they're looking at me all the time, the way they're, and I'm talking from the under 9s all the way up to the 21s, which I was involved with last night. I mean, it's a great result. We should have won by 5 or 6 in the end, we drew the game. But to see that fighting spirit, never give up, and to get that last minute equaliser at the end was a part of my era. We never say die, we never give up. We outrun teams, we outplay teams, we outcompete teams, we outwork teams, and we outthink teams. And that's what, I want to represent for the club.
Yeah, and when you joined the club in 2006 as a player, did you recognize the magnitude or size of the club, bearing in mind players such as a Stanley Matthews played for this club, or the history in itself didn't really resonate with you at that time?
No, it never did at that time. It never did, I've got to be honest. When I first heard about the club, Danny Higginbotham, I was at Southampton. Obviously, I got a year left on the contract, and we did very well. We did very well at the time, coming back from loan from Ipswich. And Danny Higginbotham rang me and said, Rick, I'm at Stoke City Football Club, and the manager loves you, and this club is very ambitious. They got owners that's really, just for the community, and they're actually Stoke people, and they want to do great things with this club. And just by Danny Higginbotham, who was my teammate at Southampton, telling me all those things, I could hear the passion in his voice. I don't know what Danny's like, top lad, top player, top professional. I just say yes, because sometimes you get that feeling, even though I got 1 year left on the contract. And when the manager rang me and said, we'd like to have you here. I've played against him before when I was at Preston, when he was at Plymouth Argyle, and I used to score against his teams, and he's always coming over and said, well done young man, well done lad, or well done Rick. And so I've always liked him, and I always had, my spirit was always good towards it, because sometimes you can sense people. So it's like a match made in heaven, and no wonder why he became obviously the best manager that I've worked with. I've had 6 years worth of lots of success here at the club. But when I arrived here at Stoke City, after taking a 40% pay cut to come here, because remember, Southampton was a Premier League club, we just got relegated. So I was on Premier League wages. So at the time, Stoke was just, I think, League 1, or probably was Division 2, they won at the time. But anyway, they were in the 3rd tier, and then I think they got promoted to the 2nd tier. And then, yes, when I arrived, we didn't even own a training ground. We were renting, Clayton Woods were renting off Michelin, the tire giants. And when I arrived, the grass was this high. So it's basically lots of animal, cows was there, but we had a football field there, and we had a porter cabin, which we got from Aston Villa. It was actually a used one. We didn't even have an academy. So this is where we're coming from. So that just show you the magnitude of where we're coming from to where we are now. We have a Cat 1 facility, unbelievable setup, unbelievable stadium, training ground. It's just a shame we couldn't get to go there today, so you can see the beauty. But yeah, it was unbelievable, and it's just one of them where it was just from, if you want to say, from nothing to something, because we have good preparation, we have good leadership, good preparation, good recruitment. The guys during my time, the Rory Delap, the Liam Lawrence, the Mama Sidibis, the Matthew Evingtons, even the guys later down, the James Beattie. I mean, it was just fantastic. But the coach, Mr. Tony Pulis, and his team was unbelievable. And in the end, we achieved lots of success. We FA Cup finals, we got promoted. We played in Europe, scored in Europe. So it was a massive achievement. Loads of strides, and it was it's a joy to see where the club's at now.
Yeah, and just a little bit on the manager, that brought you in, because as you know, the first season you had finished 8th, the next season you got promoted. There was a a death in your family, he gave you time off to come to the island and so on and so forth. Trusted you, gave you that playing opportunities, even when there might be a spell of a couple of games without a goal. Tony Pulis as a manager.
Well, top class. As I say, football nowadays, well, always have been, but so he was probably a little bit ahead of his time. It's man management skills. It's so much important, and you can see it now with Pep Guardiola, with Jurgen Klopp. You see how those guys are, and that's why they're getting all those energy back from the players and achieving all those success, no matter which club they represent or which club they're in charge of. So Mr. Pulis had that in him, and he was a hard manager. Don't get me wrong. He knows how to challenge his players, and he knows how to support his players. Fire and ice. That's how players grow. Just like a plant needs water and it needs sunlight. So the sunlight represents the challenge, and the water represents the support, or the fertilizer represents the support, so that you have growth. And if you don't have that, you can never improve, develop, improve, and progress. And he had all of that. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was well ahead of his time because his preparation was different class. We are very well organized, as you can see. Our team during that time, our set players out of possession when we lose the ball, or we were compact, or we were resilient, or we were together. Everybody, every player in every area of the field knows his role. We could play with the blindfolds on, with our eyes closed. We know exactly what's going to happen. I know exactly what pass Liam is going to make. Soon as he recovers the ball, or we gain possession of the ball in transition, I know what runs to make because I know that ball was coming over. So arguably that's why we had so much success. So we had great leadership, great preparation, and we had great recruitment, and he was a perfectionist. And when you have a manager like that, you're always going to have success. And arguably, and that's why he's never been relegated. I think he's the only English manager who was never relegated. I think Big Sam had that, but he was relegated with West Brom, I think. And I think David Moyes had that. He was relegated with
Sunderland.
Sunderland, exactly. So he's the only manager now up to date who has never been relegated. So there is a reason for that. Success is not come easy. There's no reward without hard work and sacrifice. So he must be doing something right.
And it felt like for the big games in particular that there was that plan. Like when Arsenal came to town, you were on the score sheet. When Liverpool came to town, and there was that plan for the Man City in the FA Cup. You scored as well. So it felt like there was that plan for the big games.
Absolutely. Not only big games. As you see, I score against many teams. I think there's only a few teams in the Premier League or in the Championship that I haven't scored against. But I've scored against most teams. And obviously, again, that's not lucky. That's not buck-ups, as we say in Jamaica. I must be doing something right. I must be working hard enough. And obviously, I've got the talent and the professionalism to do that, no matter what some people might think. But yes, I must be doing something right. But again, there's no reward without hard work, without sacrifice. People see what is in front of their eyes, but they don't see the work I was doing behind the closed door. They don't see the late hours that I've been leaving the training ground. They don't see the time when I'm injured and I'm going through rehabilitation for 8 months, for 9 months, how many times, and that I have to prepare myself, and just the mental state alone. Any player would have quit a long time ago, but I managed to still keep going. That just shows and just proves the testament of the person and how resilient and my character of a person that I am. And therefore, there will be success when you have all those ingredients put together. And I was all the type of player. I'm always ambitious. I was always a person who want to, if I'm in the Championship, I want to test myself in the Premier League, so I'll do everything within my power to get there and to test myself and to hold my own and then push on from there. So I always know my capabilities. I always try to improve myself and advance myself as I'm doing now as an aspiring coach to be and manager to be.
Yeah, I mean, during that time, as well, you played with many different individuals. You had Richard Cresswell at one time, John Parkin at one time, Tunchai, Sidibe, James Beattie, Matthew Everington. Just in terms of those four front players, it seemed like there was a lot of interchange. Did you... It always felt fluid.
Johnson.
I can't forget Idigo Johnson, yeah. Yeah, he came in as well and did quite a job as well, because you had a lot of players that were within around you. But I always felt that, you didn't play with Tunchai quite often. Was that tactical?
Yes, obviously that's the manager's decision for sure, but he knows why. As I said, he knows his job, and he's a perfectionist. He's very much detailed, and he will try and mix and match players. I mean, obviously, don't forget we have to train and prepare ourselves before, so he will have a feel and a hand of knowing which players best work with which players. When we go on away games, strikers always be together in the room, so we have sometimes 2 players in rooms, and sometimes we got 1 player in rooms. But even if we 1 player in each room, we right beside each other. So therefore, we'll be going to a room, we'll be talking together. So his reason why he does those things. So he knows what he was doing. But yeah, he will know that, and it's his decision. But at the end of the day, no matter which player came, because don't forget, a little man from Jamaica who was walked barefooted, who was never have great facilities, coming up against players like, especially when we got promoted, we had players like James Beattie, who had been in the Premier League for a long time, who had had success in the Premier League, massive club, Blackburn, Southampton.
England international.
We have players like Tunchai, coming England international. We have players like Tunchai, Turkish international, Fenerbahce, or Galatasaray, whatever team that, or Besiktas, whichever team he was playing for. There we have Ida Gudjansen. We talk about Chelsea. We talk about Barcelona, and at one stage he was at Bolton as well early in his career. So all those players coming in thought they would have got my game, but I tell you what, none of them could have shaken me from that starting 11, because that's the belief and the confidence I have in my own ability, and I was fearless, I was brave, and you have to have those things. And yeah, the manager know what type of player that was going to play with me, because I know I was never going to be out of the starting 11. It's only probably injuries or suspension will get me out. But once those things are over, I'm back in, because that's the confidence and the belief I have in my own ability and my own strengths, and that's the type of person I am. But yeah, the manager knew which type of player to play with each other. We had Kenyon Jones as well at one stage. But arguably, Mama Sidibe was my best partnership for sure, because I think we have that connection. We have that. He was the workhorse, and I was the one who would pick up the pieces, and I was the one who would create something out of nothing, and who could play people in as well. And I know, just my intelligence in terms of football, because on the field, my intelligence, I think, is nobody better than I. Obviously, injuries have decimated my career. I would have probably gone on and played for, you name it, teams at the top, maybe in the Champions League as well, for sure. But I never say never. I keep going, coming back, keep bouncing back, keep working hard. And whenever, as I say, whenever situation I'm always going to be that player in the starting left, that striker. That's always going to be in the team, because that's my belief and ambition.
During the time at Stoke, did you ever get opportunities or inquiries to go to a team that might be playing Europa League or Champions League during that time?
Of course. I said before, when I was at Preston, my first season at Preston, I was on 8 goals in 14 games. I was flying, absolutely flying. And I was only November. And Gerard Houllier came in calling £6 million with Phil Graham, met him. So January, deal would have come, because the window would have opened in January. I'll never forget, on 30th of November against Coventry, big Serbian defender, Konjic, remember playing for Coventry, went to put the ball, flick it on. So he was late, so his forehead caught me in my head back, so I actually reached the ball first, flicked it on. So I was unconscious in the air. You could see from the video, fell on the ground, my body went one way, my leg went one way, ruptured my ACL. So that was my luck, as I say, I never had any, I mean, actually, I'm blessed to be still playing and achieve all that I did eventually. But I just, in those moments, I just say that I'm without luck, because every single time it seems like, as a big club was coming in, I always get injured. I mean, even when I arrive at Stoke, if it was not Mr. Pulis and some other manager being the way they were, or they would have been, or they are, I probably wouldn't ended up at Stoke and achieve all that I did, because I didn't pass the medical. Yeah, because of all the injuries and the hole in my cartilage and the spinal fusion that I. And don't forget, when I came on trial, I had 5 goals in 3 games for Charlton Athletic. Rip up the trial. I don't think there's any trialists who have done that well across the world. Never, let alone Jamaica. We've seen them in trialists going elsewhere and can't even, no disrespect to the players, but having problems trying to be signed. So that proved a testament of how well I did back then. So I had a hat-trick against Watford, 1 against Southampton, 1 against Leicester. Those are Premier League teams at the time. Don't forget, that time the reserve was actually the players coming out of the first team was injured or coming back, or who haven't been playing regularly in the first team. So it was very, very competitive. Talking about playing against Matt Letizier, Noel Williams for Watford, all those games. Yeah, and I failed a medical. And I signed for £1.35 million for Charlton Athletic at the time. Alan Kirby was the manager. and I failed the medical. Career was taken away from me. Yeah. Then Gerard Houllier came in when I was at Preston, flying 8 goals in 14 games. In January, transfer would have gone through £6 million, got injured. It's countless times. Even when I went to Portsmouth, my knee acted up. I only get to score 1 goal in the Premier League, 7 or 8 penalties, Yakubu and Lua scoring them, but I only managed 1 goal. Then Sunderland came in again, failed the medical when I was staying in the Premier League, so that's why I ended up at Southampton, because I failed the medical going to Sunderland. Mick McCarthy was the manager then. He was gutted, he was out of his decision, but I don't think he had many thought back then, because he still wanted to sign me, because obviously, he went on to become Wolves manager. And every time I play against his team, I kill them. Figuratively speaking, I always scored against them. You know what I mean? So he's always, as a manager, he's always had love for me and liking for me, my style of play, whatever. So injury have decimated my career, but I never gave up. I keep on coming back, keep on bouncing back. And that obviously is a testament to me as a person, my character, my resilience and my hard work. So yes, I've always been that type of person. But yeah, I've never managed to have the opportunity to play for a bigger team because of injuries, and that's just my faith, and I accept that. But one thing for sure, I was never going to give up. If I can't get there by somebody buying me, I'm going to get my team there, and that's what I did. That's what I did with Stoke City, and we got on to do 10 years in the Premier League. I spent a good chunk of my career, 6 years with Stoke. I've had 4 years in the Prem, and the club has gone on to another 6 years, and I think is arguably, within 10 teams that has done 10 years in the Premier League. So that is an achievement within itself for Stoke City.
And as you know, it's the best feeling in the world when you're appreciated and you spend 6 seasons at a club. You have some players that might have spent a little longer than you, but you are an individual that was voted in the club's Hall of Fame. So I'm sure that is something that you're humbled about.
Absolutely humbled and honoured. Absolutely humbled and honoured. It's an absolute privilege, and it's such a pleasure. I'm very delighted, because why I say that is because, I always say from nothing to something, meaning that I started back in Jamaica. I remember Jamaica is a terrible country. I never owned a football boot when I was a kid growing up, because my family never had it like that. Obviously, you want to say, I'm born and bred in Tivoli Gardens, poor neighbourhood. My family was hard-working Christian family. But certain things, money had to be spent, and most things that was most important, how it is back home. So for me to came from that settings and to achieve that status in this club's history, because of all of obviously my hard work, my togetherness with my group, leadership of the manager, and the ownership as well of the club, of the coach family, to be a part of that. The Stanley Matthews, the Sir Stanley Matthews, the Sir Gordon Banks, all those great players, to be a part of that is no easy feat. It's a boy from Jamaica, don't forget that. A boy who never owned the football boots. His first football boots was borrowed from a girl called Marie in his neighborhood who played softball, the other side of baseball for the girls. And yeah, looking back and to all that I have achieved and all that I've been voted in, and to put against or amongst, I should say, rather, it's such a great achievement and an overwhelming feeling, knowing all that I've been through as well. Don't forget the injuries and the setbacks, obviously messed up, affected my international career as well. As you can see, stop, start is not easy. Keep bouncing back. Psychologically, all that, all the effects from that. Physically, all the effects from that. Trust me, the whole thing, when you look back, it's a great, phenomenal, unbelievable achievement, and one that I'm humbled and honoured and grateful and thankful for. Massive achievement.
In the time in the time that you had there as well, Demar Phillips was there briefly as well with you. Was it injuries why you think perhaps he didn't kick on at Stoke and had that move over to Norway in that period of time?
Well, Rudolf Austin as well. He was here on trialing top. In fact, we signed him and failed the criteria. Tried to sign him 2 or 3 times because the gaffer loves him. It's a style of play. With Mr. Pulis, we need to be brave, physical, We need to be aggressive. We need to be intense. We need to be very fit. We need to play with speed, penetration, and width. Create lots of crossing to create goal-scoring opportunities. That's Mr. Tony Pulis' style of play. Demar was quick, but he wasn't the strongest. He wasn't the tallest. But nevertheless, you need to be more brave. You need to be more aggressive. Because we had Glenn Whelan, he wasn't the tallest, but he was brave, he was aggressive, he was physical. And when you don't have certain other attributes, you've got to compensate with the others that you have. Demar Phillips had speed, had a great left peg. He was accurate, he could shoot, he could cross, but he was a bit lightweight. And I think that's why eventually you never get the opportunities, because without the opportunities of playing time, you ain't going to show what you can do. I think if you got more opportunities in terms of playing time, the gaffer would have seen more what you can do. But knowing, the gaffer judge people off training sessions. That's how he is. And we train as we play. In training, everybody has to wear shin pads. In training, we'll have lots of bust up because people are flying in. We have so many fights every day. Actually, we ever got a fight in training because play was flying in. Play was hard. Play was physical. Play was aggressive. We had speed. We had energy. We had lots of enthusiasm. And we have lots of quality. That's our training session, week in, week out, day in, day out. And the gaffer will judge his players from the training session, and then you got the games. Them are played in lots of the reserve games and the under 23 games at the time. But you got to show those qualities. You got to show those values. And if you're not showing them, then you ain't going to get the opportunity to play in the reserve games, much less in the first team game. I think he played a couple of cup games, but again, when you play more, young players need to play, and if he plays more, he will be able to get more confident, and from confidence, he will be able to play his own game, which we know he can play, but he never got those opportunities because of other stuff. So eventually, he never got the chance for him to really showcase what he had. When he actually went to Norway or Sweden, Norway. When he went to Norway, he actually got the playing time because obviously the quality, no disrespect to that league, but the quality ain't going to be the same. So he got the opportunity and he built from that. He got the confidence and he showed what he could do. I think he got Player of the Year and he won trophies there. So without getting opportunities, then you ain't going to get a chance to show what you can do. Rudolph Austin now was different. Rudolph was brave, was aggressive, was physical. No wonder why the gaffer tried to sign him 2 or 3 times. And luckily we never got the work permit. And he went on to do his stuff in Norway again, didn't he? And then he came back for Leeds. And he was brilliant at Leeds. They loved him, because of his style of play. So Rudolph, in other words, Demar fit the English game. Demar never really fit the English game because of the physicality, the aggression, or bravery have to be, the tempo, intensity, and the hard work that it requires. Don't get me wrong, Demar was very fit and work hard, but he's not as physical and brave and aggressive.
Yeah, and I'm sure you heard from the outside world, other clubs and media talking about the style of play of Stoke. Were the players fazed by that, or they just said, we're just going to buy into this vision of the manager and do our best, in a sense?
Absolutely. That's what you just said that last bit. We knew who we were. We knew our capabilities. We work hard. We were intense. We improved ourselves, knowing the gaffer, Mr. Tony Pulis. We advance our abilities. We work on our weaknesses, improve them, and we build on our strengths. That's Stoke City and the player during my time or during my era. That's us in a nutshell. We were intense. We play with speed and penetration. We play with width, and we create lots of crossing situations, and we create goal scoring opportunities, and we take most of them. You see the James Beattie, myself, Mama City B, and one time you see the ball comes in, we scoring from a header, we scoring from across Patrick Everton, Jermaine Pennant. We always have wingers, because that's how we play. We play with intensity, we play with penetration, with speed. When we lose possession, or when we gain or lose possession of the ball in transition, or we get back into position, defensive position, and or we were organized, or we were compact, or we were resilient to get after the ball when we lose the possession. When we gain possession, or we quickly transfer into that attacking position, we create the width, we opened up, ball was played with speed and penetration, or play wide with speed so that we could get crossing opportunities where we could score from. So that was us in a nutshell. We weren't the team that's going to spend 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 million pounds at a time, because we're Stoke City. So we cannot play to who we were not. We have to play to who we are. So therefore we have to buy into who we were, and the gaffer, that comes from the gaffer, his leadership qualities, what he knew what he was doing, and we buy into that as players, and we work our socks off in training, because one thing for sure, we ain't going to get done for being the least or the least fit, we're going to be done. We're not going to be done for being not fit. We're going to be the fittest team, and that's what we were. And from fitness comes everything else. We were brave, we were aggressive, we play with speed, we play with energy, we play with whiff, we play with penetration. And on set plays, we were well drilled. We were organized, we know exactly what we were going to do, and we were well prepared. So therefore, we buy into who we were. And if we're going to be like that, therefore you got to have 6-footers, you got to have star players, you got to have strong players, you got to have players who are aggressive, who are brave. You got to recruit players who play like that, to fit your system, to fit your style of play. And you know who you are, and once you buy into that and play to their strength, the world is at your feet, and we go on to achieve, as I said, in my time, I believe we overachieved.
Yeah, great things.
Sure.
And now, you're in a position where you have some, I don't want to say familiar faces, but faces that you'll know right now. We spoke briefly about Luke Bradley Morgan in the academy right now at Stoke. He represented under 20 Reggae Boyz. The first team, the captain in Lewis Baker, Jamaican heritage, Tyrese Campbell as well, Dwight Gale, and amongst other, Dujon Sterling as well. So I'm sure at some point you might have brief conversations with them about Jamaica, generally speaking.
Oh yes, I've seen them. In fact, I didn't realize. I know the surname have some Jamaican affiliation or heritage, but obviously when we're driving up and you're telling me, obviously I know Lewis Baker, but I didn't know Dujon Sterling was, and
Dwight Gale.
Dwight Gale. No, I know Dwight Gale. I obviously know about him.
Bradley Morgan.
Luke.
Yeah,
Luke. I saw him and I thought he looks familiar, but obviously because so much going on, so much to read, so much to take in, because I've only just been at the club last week, and I've got the Premier League side as well I've got the club to deal with. I've got lots of safeguarding, reading, lots of stuff to do, work with throughout the academy structure with different age groups. So there's a lot going on at the minute. So yeah, but obviously when you mentioned those guys, I straight, oh yeah, actually we got quite a few. But yeah, they've got the ability. Sterling, Dujon is doing very, very, very well so far. What I've seen of him, because I go to the home games, and the games that I've seen him so far, has been doing brilliantly. The gaffer loves him, you can see, Mr. Alex Neil. You got Lewis Baker, who is the club captain, leading from the front, who has been tremendous since he arrived at the club. Obviously, he came from a great youth system, a great setup, a great academy in Chelsea, and he had experience of playing in Holland and all the other places, Middlesbrough and all the other clubs. So and now we got Dwight Gale, who's been there, done that in the leagues. So I mean, we got great potential if we can manage to recruit these guys for the national team. I tell you what, and with the leadership of this new manager now, the Icelandic manager, we've got a great pedigree. I must say it's a great appointment from the Jamaica Football Federation administration. It's a great appointment. So yeah, if we could manage to get these guys in the fold, it'd be a great addition to the country, to Jamaica, and I'm sure they will do well for the club at Stoke City.
Did you have an opportunity to watch the game that we played last month against Argentina, or even highlights of it?
Yes, I saw highlights of it. But again, could have done a little bit better. Unfortunate for the goals, a little bit lapsed. But yeah, I mean, those are things. Those goals came from mistakes and situations where this manager now will sort out for sure, because he knows his game, he knows his stuff. He's got his work. He has worked with teams like obviously Iceland, who was similar to our setup in terms of the facility. Well, not the facility, but in terms of the population, the style of play, the underdog kind of mentality that we have. So and the talented players that we have, that obviously playing here in England, and the ones that's what should I say? That's capable, because remember, if you play for the national team, you got to be capable. It's not anybody. You can have played for the national team, whether it be local players or players from here in England or in the MLS or across the world who have got the Jamaican heritage. So he will have the players to work with and sort out all those problems. But again, I don't think we did pretty badly in that game. I think we did well and could have had a better result.
And for you, how encouraging is it to see some Jamaicans in the league now? Leon Bailey, Aston Villa, Antonio, West Ham, Bobby Reid, Fulham, Jamalo, Bournemouth. Because at one stage it was like you and Marlon King in the league, and this was a decade ago. At one stage, Marlon King at Hull, you at Stoke.
Yes.
At one stage in the league.
Absolutely. And back then we used to have players. We used to have players like we had Jermaine Johnson, we had Claude Davis, we had Damien Stewart, 2 Ps.
Omar Daly.
We had Omar Daly. We had Rudolph Austin of obviously not too long ago. So after a while, it became, as you know, you just said it, me and Marlon King, myself and Marlon King, and then we have Little Butch. There's nobody that was hanging around. So now we, as you can see, it's looking very bright again. Obviously, these players are kind of getting on in age, to be fair. Obviously, the Mikel Antonio, the Bobby Reed, but we still have the Leon Baileys, we have the Lou coming through, we have the Lewis Baker, we have all those guys coming through. Dwight Gale with a little bit age coming on, but at least we have right now that core of players we can get some immediate success from, or I should say short-term success from, and hopefully these guys can push through the other guys that's coming through with their experience and exposure, and obviously give back something to that younger group coming through, and to make that team stronger. And I'm sure this coach, as I said, this coach is capable and competent enough to have a plan to get these guys to kind of create that conveyor belt where that wheel keeps turning. So when Mikel Antonio went on, when Mikel Antonio push on from obviously a player, he will have that players coming through. Just like when we went on, we didn't have, for that a little period, we didn't have nobody really coming through, especially from Jamaica, making that transition to England. I know the restraints are there because of work permit criteria and all the other things, that's the barriers that's holding back players obviously. But you've got players now going to other parts of Europe and players going now in the MLS as such. Not my ideal move, but Europe is probably best, like Slovenia, to get them the experience. You've got Norway still, that and I think Scotland has kind of opened up, so hopefully we can get some more players in to create that conveyor belt, because it's important to have that players coming through, producing players, year after year, period after period, era after era, because we don't want to go through that gap where we don't have nobody coming through, and we got player aging, and therefore you're gonna have to stand still. We're gonna be stagnant. So,
yeah, I mean,
we don't want to have that.
You had that experience at Hearts as well, and for England you have to be in the top 50 in the ranking. Scotland, it's a slightly different top 70. So would you recommend any person from the island to experience Scotland despite the weather and everything?
Absolutely. In fact, when I knew of the situation quite a while back, obviously with my affiliation with the Hearts, we had my ex-teammate, actually, Neil Robin Houston, is actually the manager, and the recruitment. One of the recruitment guy, I knew him very well from the time at Preston, and obviously with the name that I have and how long I've been in the game and in the country, I know quite a few people. So I give Damien Lowe, it was Damien Lowe, Vassell, Peter Lee Vassell, Norman Campbell. I presented their name to Hearts because I thought, obviously, but with the structure Hearts and the Scottish Premier League at the minute in terms of wages and everything, it's a little bit a barrier. In terms of if you're getting decent monies elsewhere, to come here. Yes, we try to make it realistic, and in terms of them having a look in, because could be like a pathway to come into England. So my thinking was try and get them a look in, even in a trial situation, where maybe the club could say, okay, because of my ex-teammate Robin Nielsen, Arts have been part of my history. I've done fairly well for the club. People there still appreciate me, so try to use my contacts and getting the players in. Even though the wage is not the best, probably to where they are at. But come have a year or two, do well, and then you will have players from clubs in England looking in, because a lot of players, we talk about Van Dijk, we talk about myself, we talk about so many other players come from Scotland, all the leagues, and come into England and do very well for themselves. So it's not a bad channel, not a bad league that you can take players from, rather than the MLS and Norway or Sweden and other places, because of obviously the restriction and the work permit criteria, and it's been relieved in Scotland. That was my line of thinking, but in the end it never materialized for Damien, and for Norman Campbell went on to Slovenia. Damien, I think, left Egypt and went on to Inter Miami, and then Peter Vass, I think he went on. We tried to get him to Rudolph Club in Denmark as well, but it never materialized at the last end. I think we break down at the last hurdle, the contract talks, and then he went on to the USL, isn't he?
Yeah.
So but it's a shame, because that was my thinking. So it wouldn't be a bad channel to go to, because a lot of the English clubs take the players from the Scottish League, and those players have come here and do very well.
Yeah, and the experiences that you've had with the national team as well, what would you say was the reason why perhaps you didn't get the same numbers like a Shelton or an Anandilo? Would it be the system that you played in, because the technical ability was there that you had, but not necessarily the same numbers like an Andy or a Shelton per se, you know?
Yeah, well,
I mean, you spoke about injuries earlier as well.
yeah, as I said before, when you play, remember, I was ripping it up for under 20s. I've got 14 goals in 14 games. And my career started for the senior team with injuries. I went to Shell Cup in Trinidad, where basically my hip, I had problems with my hip, and I think I should have came off then, but Simoes wanted me to stay on the pitch because I was taking over from Multiboard at the time, and he put the number 10 on my back, massive pressure, and I just felt like I never recovered from that injury, and a lot of it caused a lot of other injuries to come, because when you're young and you don't correct certain situations in terms of injuries, it could go on or springboard into you picking up other injuries, especially my spine, my hip. And I played that game, Simoes had me on the pitch, played that game, and I was out for another 3 months after that, where I was wearing a corset, a brace thing like for my hip, because of the damage that was done. Never recovered from that. So eventually I ended up coming back and playing and recovering and going on to do very well for a club in the other later part of the under 23s. Went to games in Africa, in Scandinavia with the national team. Simo was obviously trying to break me in, put in fourth, obviously taking over the number 10 because he saw that I had the potential. So eventually, injuries, my massive problem was, this is no excuse, injuries played a massive part of decimating my career for my country. And obviously, I haven't got the time to spend with players. So again, remember, I've spent so much time with my club. So I know these boys inside out. When you play for your country, if you look at my performance wasn't a problem for the national team. He scored goals, could have and should have scored more goals for sure. I have to accept that, 100%. But scoring goals, there's much more to scoring goals. There's what happened before you actually score goals. There's the preparation. There's the togetherness. There's the recruitment. There's players that plays with players. You got to know what players to play with who and how to play with who. And we have a lot. It's a combination of things, and we're seeing that now in the national team. We see the recruitment where we have so many English players coming in at one time just before the qualification. How are they gonna have togetherness? How are they gonna have cohesiveness? And that's what happens to team, and the outcome will be if you don't have a team put together for a while to play with teams. So I think my biggest problem was I could and should have scored more goals, and I didn't manage to get that. But my performance wasn't a problem, because if you look at most of the games, I was playing well, I was creating chances, I was scoring here and there. But on a consistent basis, I never managed to score as many goals as I would love and like to. Recent situations or recent appointments the Jamaica Football Federation has made. As you can see, it's the appointment of the new coach, which is a brilliant appointment, I believe, especially for Jamaica at the minute, and the short-term and long-term goal, for sure. This coach can get us to where we need to be. And obviously with the GenSec appointment, I think that's a brilliant appointment from Mr. Dennis Chung.
Yeah.
When you look at his CV, and I've seen some interviews with him, I like what he's saying. Obviously all the stuff that I've heard about him, nothing short of exceptional, and a man full of integrity and the belief, and you can see that he loved the sport, and he's a man that knows the sport as well. And it's good when you have people in the department who knows what they're doing. The division of labour have to be specialised. That way the outcome will be great. The manufacturing will be good. The product you produce will be top class, will be quality. So the recent appointments are, it's really good to see, and it's a breath of fresh air. The manager and the GenSec. We can keep going in this way with this current administration. Yes, I bash them because I believe they were doing the right things. When you look at all that we have been going through, all that we have achieved from then till now, all the incompetence, all the ineptitude, I would say yes, it's a struggle, and it's something that we don't want to see. But yes, if we can manage to put things right where the leadership is concerned, the preparation is concerned, the recruitment is concerned, yeah, the outcome will be good, the outcome could be great, the outcome will be great, and that's where we have to start from. So we have to get the right people in the right positions, and people knows what they're doing, and people willing to work hard. Because don't forget, as I said before, it's not about talent. Talent is just a basic requirement. It's the mental toughness that decides the real winners. It's hard work, whatever you do. It's discipline. It's sacrifice. So not only just the administration, but the playing side of things. It's perseverance. It's the love for it. People who love the sport. Yeah, you got to have the skill and the will, but the will have to be stronger than the skill. In every department, don't forget we got the administration, we got the playing, we got the HR, we got the equipment managers. Everybody have to pull it in one way. Everybody have to work together as a unit to achieve the goal, whether it be at club level or whether it be at international level. If we can manage to achieve those things, then we will have success. No doubt, we will have success.
876